Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be going over a very interesting product here that some of you guys may not have any experience with, so I'm kind of excited to bring it out to you guys and show you just sort of the capabilities of what we have here. This one here is the OPMOD from Optics Planet PVS-14. Now this is the Optics Planet version of the night vision optic that most of our military is currently using, so seriously high quality stuff here. But what we're going to do is, at first, we're going to step outside and take some shots with it at night just to show you guys the kind of capabilities that this optic has. Keep in mind, it's actually much clearer and crisper in real life than it is being filtered through an additional camera lens and then onto your computer. But without further ado, let's step outside and see how it does. We're out at the range now. We got a target downrange at 50 meters. What I'm going to do is zoom in here so you guys can actually see what we're looking at. However, from this shot I'm showing you right here, this is how the target is set up. That's the target right there. We have just the night vision on. Right now we have almost a full moon, so we really have tons and tons of bloom out here. We really don't need the light, but we're going to use it just to show you exactly what we're looking at here. That is with nothing on. I'm going to put the IR light on here and show you. There's the IR light. Again, guys, it's much more crisp in real life than what you're seeing here. That's off. That's on high. IR low and off. What I'm going to do is zoom in here. We're going to take some shots and just to show you guys what it's like to actually hit these targets here. Send the bolt home. Oh. And we'll get back on target. There we go. Going hot. So you can see with that night vision, there's absolutely no issues ringing that steel. I'll back out again. That's, again, looking through those nods. And this is what it looks like to the naked eye. You can't see anything. So there you have it here. Let the camera focus in again. And we'll zoom in. You can see just what kind of clarity you can actually get. Again, that EOTech is on night vision mode again. So that reticle is not visible at all to the naked eye. Now that you've seen how it performs here, let's get into what actually comes with it. First, obviously, you get your OPMOD PVS-14. On it there will be a little pinhole cap, which we'll get into here in just a second. I'll set that off to the side. You also get your skull crusher device, as we call it here. For those of you who have been in the military, you know that's what this is referred to as. It's actually a head mount, which allows you to mount the PVS-14 on there in a way that will let you just walk normally and look out of it and just use regular old eyesight. So essentially you just mount it up like that. Obviously you have to tighten everything down, but you clip it in and you can just walk around normally with the optic in front of your eye, and you won't have to adjust your head or anything like that. So it's certainly nice that does come with that. It also comes with a 1913 style rail mount, which is what we were using on the rifle earlier in the video. They do have a ton of aftermarket ones available though for the PVS-14, which will give you more mounting options in terms of mounting it closer to your optic, quick detach, different heights, etc. though. But this one does come with it. Extra lens, straps, some string. I'm not sure what you'd use this for outside of tying your equipment down perhaps. Different inserts for that skull crusher, because everyone has obviously a different size head, so you can put in whichever one fits you best. Extra ring. This one here is clear. And you have your manual, some tissue to wipe it down with. Batteries are included, as is another lens cap. The bag, carrying bag, so you can store everything in there. And lastly, the data sheet that comes from where it's actually produced. And you can see on here it's got a ton of different data that comes from this actual serial number. So everything on here is what it actually reads at and the actual performance of the optic that you're getting. I'll go over the controls next. Here's your on-off switch here. You just twist it to turn it on. It'll come on. Also, it has the ability to shoot out a IR signal by turning it like this. And I know you guys can't see it, but when I'm doing this, what's actually happening is the IR light is coming out the front here. So that way you can use it for signaling. For instance, if you have a checkpoint at night and everyone's wearing nods, you can signal whatever the number combination may be. So the number combination may be 5, let's say. You get signaled 3 flashes, you signal back 2, and you're good, you're in. It also allows you to see in pitch darkness. So if you're maneuvering around and there's 0 illumination around, you can hit that IR and turn it on and get yourself oriented and get yourself back on track there. So that's that. We have our eye cup here, and what this is designed for, this is removable as well, so you can just pull this off. But what that's designed for is to prevent the escape of light. So if you're operating in an environment where everyone has night vision, even the enemy, the slight green tint that comes out the back of this will be visible, particularly under night vision optics. So that seals around your eye, preventing any sort of escape of light. Obviously, a little bit gets out, but much, much less than without it. Up front here, we have our gain. This one here is going to allow you to actually focus in the picture that you're seeing to your eye. Maybe your eyesight's not as good as somebody else's and vice versa. You can actually make it crisper and set up just for you. Up here on the front here, we have our battery compartment, and it does take a AA battery, so a standard AA battery, and that single battery should give you about 40 hours of life. Obviously, it's going to depend on the weather conditions, but in normal weather conditions, you'll get 40 hours of use out of the single battery. The pinhole cap that I referred to earlier, what that is it allows you to operate the PVS-14 during daylight. Not that you'd ever want to do that really, but that way you can work on it like I'm doing here. Turn it on, off, set your focus, all that stuff, and there's still enough light that comes through that you can check all your settings. However, it prevents all of the light coming through, which would eventually damage the optic. Now, these are Gen 3 night vision devices, so the odds that it would actually ever get damaged are next to 0 in my opinion. But older night vision had that happen to them sometimes, so I think it's just a preventative measure that they have in there. However, even if that were to happen in daylight, when you turn this on, even if you bump it on accidentally, after 30 seconds it has an auto shut off, so that way it'll prevent damage to it. But I honestly don't see that happening with the Gen 3, particularly something like the PVS-14, but it is a feature that's built in just in case. In addition to the focus ring back here, we have our gain control up front here, so we'll turn it on for you. And at that point, what you can do is just turn this to either increase or decrease the amount of light that's coming through there. There really is kind of a sweet spot depending on your lighting conditions and what your eyes want to tolerate, so you just play with it and it allows the user to change it as they see fit. And just a note there, it does have the pinhole cap on there, so that's how it does work. You can see it's still gathering plenty of light so you can actually see, but not enough so that way it could possibly damage the optic. Now, speaking of the optic, this tube here is made in the exact same factory where the military version is made by the same company. And it's actually just not made to the same specs, but a lot of times with these tubes, what you'll note is that the specs that you get in your data sheet will actually be sometimes higher than the military spec in terms of output and reading, which is nice. So I'm not going to get into all that because that could be a whole separate video in terms of the specs that these are tested to versus the mil spec. I'll include a photo of this so you guys can really take a look at the spec sheet of this particular one. It's going to vary per optic, but it does really... It's not tested to the mil spec and graded to the mil spec, but a lot of times these will exceed those because the mil spec a lot of times is just a minimum standard. And the minimum standard just in terms of output is going to be 64 lines per millimeter. This one easily does that, as you guys can see there in the spec sheet. I'm pretty sure I hit most of the details on the actual optic itself, and you guys saw how it performed out there on the range. Obviously, it's going to be equally well suited for home defense if you guys can afford that, whether you want to mount it behind your rifle or actually use the head mount and then maybe some sort of IR laser on your rifle. Either way, it's going to do an excellent job and give you a distinct advantage over anybody who would be trying to do you harm there. Obviously, another big use of these that's becoming more and more popular these days is the use for nighttime hunting, whether it be coyote hunting, hog hunting, whatever the case may be. These are certainly very popular for that. And like I mentioned earlier, there's a ton of different mounts out there, depending if you want to mount it on your rifle, a helmet, whatever the case may be, to be able to utilize this capability. But really, these are the optics pointed version of what our military is currently using today. So it's a very tested optic, and it works extremely well. The only downside of night vision optics, as it is really whenever you're talking about any of them, is going to be price. Now, this one here comes to market, I believe, I checked this morning, it was $2,900 on Optics Planet's website. As always, though, guys, remember you do get the Mr. Guns and Gear viewer discount on anything that you order on Optics Planet. It's a 5% discount with the code that you see here on the bottom of your screen. But I mean, a few years ago, these were a lot more than $2,900. So if you look around and compare quality with Gen 3 night vision optics, it's certainly priced very competitively with them. If you guys have any questions about this, though, or anything else to talk about here on the channel, you can always post below in the comments section. You can also post over at my Facebook page as always. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.